Welcome back for episode 9 of Pro Audio Deal or Disaster, the series where we look at Facebook Marketplace listings and talk about the gear, the asking prices, and share stories.
Welcome to Storytellers.
It's about our experiences with this stuff in the past. If you're new to the channel, this series is all about you sharing your thoughts and experience in the comments as well, and I'm really looking forward to reading those after this episode. Join the channel here or on Patreon for just $1 a month to help me make more of these videos, or use the thanks button down below. Well, it was bound to happen after episode 8 went out a couple of weeks ago now, I guess. The owner of that Nexo Alpha system, John Horvath, actually saw the episode and left this great comment here giving a whole bunch more information on the rig and what's going on and what he has in the system and how it all works. So check that out. And if you have any interest at all, give him a shout. His comment is pinned to the top of the comments under episode 8. So if you're in the market for a Nexo Alpha rig, check out John's, and thanks so much to him for adding all that great information and for being a good sport about me using his system there in the last video. We're going to kick this episode off with a classic 32-channel Crest Century console, and I'm excited to see if anybody that watches this video has mixed on this console, because it says it's out of a rock club out of Chicago. So this is a listing in Chicago, Illinois, and this mixing board with the doghouse was previously used in a rock club. That's the whole description. And I imagine, though, by the tape remnants left on the console, that some of you will recognize this one. And I've mixed on one of these consoles, not this one, though, but the Crest Century. Definitely have mixed on these. Know somebody that probably still has one of these in his garage, if I had to bet money on it. And this one has certainly lived a tough life, but pretty average for a club of the era that would have had one of these. There would have been plenty of smoking, and this probably would have seen its share of spills. And you can see there's a couple of channels here down in the lower section that are taped over. And yeah, it'd be nice if there was a little better shot of it from the angle you would use it from, or from the angle you would see some of the back. Facebook Marketplace photos are always a little tough because it looks like people struggle to get some of these bigger things into the frame. You know, you're trying to take a photo with your cell phone, and this looks like it's in somebody's garage. So I understand the struggle to pull this out into the sunlight and get good photos. But it looks like they've got the rest of the PA possibly in this garage too. There's some lights over here on the shelves on the left. There's some racks over here. Yeah, interesting. For $450, probably a little bit steep considering how much work this would need to get back up and running to reliable standard. These types of consoles always require a fair amount of maintenance, and if this one's been sitting in a garage for any length of time, it's probably going to need a pretty good going through to get it all back up and running, and that's assuming nothing's broken, and it looks like there are a few things wrong with it. So yeah, interesting for $450. I imagine they're going to hold on to that one for a while, and especially if this is just like a tray with a doghouse and not an actual case. That's gonna need a very special customer. Here's another example of a Century. This is a 48 channel. It looks like with the meter bridge. And the description here is not fully assembled and missing a few channels. Those there worked when last assembled. Will come with the channels in boxes and the shell in the road case. So this one comes with a road case. Got the IATSE stamp on the outside. Again, I wonder if anybody recognizes this out of Poughkeepsie, New York. I'm sure somebody watching this will have mixed on this console. This will come with rack mountable power unit. All right, right on. And the cables as well as some lights. Okay. So yeah, another bit of a project. And you know, the fact that this one's going to ship with the chassis in the road case and then the channels in boxes, Not the end of the world, because like I said, if you bought one of these, and this one's only $350, if you bought one of these, you're going to want to pull it all apart anyway and clean it. So the fact that this one is halfway disassembled might be not such a bad thing. I mean, it looks like these have just been stored outside under a tarp, which is a shame. But, again, the size of these things, this looks like it's taken up some of their dining room. So I can't really blame this person for not having space for the case inside as well. But a bit of a project for the winter time for somebody there on a Crest Century for only $350. Let me know what you think about that one. So next up, we've got some power equipment. This is always scary stuff. Three-phase distro, only $300. So $100 per phase. And this is as homebrew as it gets, and quite old, and looks like something was Velcroed to this side of it, maybe on top here. There's the other side. And those are all just Edison. Okay, so there's the input here on the right-hand side. We got Edison's on the back. Is that a ground lift switch? There's not enough detail in this listing to say much more than I wouldn't suggest ever buying anything like this off Facebook Marketplace unless you are yourself an electrician and have specific plans for it, because who knows what's going on inside of this. And even if it was a fantastic design in the first place, who knows how well it's been maintained, or if anybody has gone inside and modified anything. You just don't know with an undocumented power distro. And this is such a weird form factor. It would be very inconvenient to use this for anything production related. You'd have to find some way to transport it and, deal with it, safely. And it's just an odd configuration. So I would steer clear of Facebook Marketplace power distros personally, unless it's something reputable by somebody like Motion Labs that you can verify that it is still in the condition it's supposed to be in before you use it. All right, we're on to the big boys now. Pro JBL sound system, and I love these old cabinets stacked up on the scaffolding. And this is some vintage stuff, and they're looking for $10,000, and that's $10,000 down in Kentucky too for this system. So let's check out the description here. JBL professional sound system. Great system to get into sound reinforcement without breaking your bank account. It'll break your back, though, trying to carry all this stuff. This system consists of two JBL 4719X subwoofers, four JBL 2226 loaded low-mid cabinets, four JBL 2206 loaded high-mid cabinets, four JBL 2441 loaded high-frequency horns, 2-inch throats. So to power it, it's all QSE PLX all the way from the subs up to the horns, and they've got a pair of 3402s on the subs, a pair of 3002s on the low mids, a pair of 2402s on the high mids, and another pair of 2402s on the high frequency horns. So that's a couple of amp racks full of PLX amps, and I've owned a ton of those over the years, and I bought them because they were lightweight and they had a lot of power for the dollar and for how much they weighed. So they get the job done, especially if you're moving them around a lot. They don't weigh much. Back to the listing, I have always stereo triumphed this system. All required cables with speak-on connectors included. Rack cases for the amps include Furman or Firm-On. Power conditioners. Fast connect, speak-on, and XLR on rear of rack cases. Road case for cables also. You provide your mixer and crossover, so no processing. So they've always stereo triumphed the system, but they're not giving you any processing to do that. Interesting choice on that. And there's no mixer included. Oh, won't include that. That's their phone number. Their speak-on cables. I wonder if the scaffold comes with it. Oh, no. Last thing in the listing, scaffolding not included. So BYO scaffolding. So yeah, the amp racks are just amp racks with Furman power conditioners and a set of amps for each side of the rig. On the back, there's twist lock input, some XLR in, some speak-on outs, but no processing, nothing. You'd have to figure all that out separate. So I didn't notice this a minute ago, but looking at this closer, I think what they've done is chopped the input power cable off the Furman and wired it up to those twist locks on the panels there. And they've plugged all of the amplifiers in each rack into a single Furman power unit. So we've seen that before. And yeah, generally not the way you want to do that. You don't need to run power amps through a Furman power conditioner. If you do need power distribution for an amplifier rack like this, you want to go with something, again, like from Motion Labs, something a pre-built thing that has multiple circuits in it. That's the idea of adding those to an amp rack, is to get more than one circuit to the amp rack so you can power those amplifiers on individual circuits. And the last part of this listing is especially unusual. He says, over the years, this system has made me well into the six figures just doing acoustic and country acts. If I had wanted to do rock and roll, it would have been doubled. Up next, we have a legendary Community CSX professional audio system with custom QSE amplifier rack and crossover for $3,600. And that is a tall stack of stuff. And again, the retailer that I worked for in the 90s, I keep saying it, but we sold this stuff. We had these in at least the subs. I know we definitely had the subs, and those things moved a lot of air. They weren't particularly musical from what I remember, but they certainly thumped a good bit. Let's read through the listing here and see what we're talking about. Up for offer is a large professional audio system, perfect for front of house sound reinforcement for small to medium-sized outdoor events. This system is comprised of two Community CSX-70 S2 three-way main cabinets, each with four 12-inch low-frequency drivers and M200 2-inch mid-range compression drivers and four PZT 1-inch tweeters, and 4 times Community CSX 60 S2 subs. And there's the back of the subs there for a look at the power rating. He goes on to say, when they say they don't make them like they used to, they're talking about these PA cabinets. They were handmade in the USA in Chester, PA, and while they're robust, heavy, they are kind of hefty. They are built like tanks and will stand the test of time. In addition to the speakers, this listing includes a custom amplifier flight case rack on caster base with a QSE RMX 2450 amp to power the subwoofers, an RMX 1450 amp for the mains cabinet, and an additional RMX 850 amp for 2 to 4 stage monitors. In addition to the amps, there is a Phonic Crosstech i7200 digital crossover and EQ to tune the front of house amplifiers, and custom panels on the rear rails with a L530p power input, a 15 amp receptacle, balanced XLR input jacks, 4 Neutrik NL4 panel mount twist lock speak-on outputs, lastly an L530 to 15 amp power cord adapter, and all of the NL4 cables required to wire up the cabinets are included. That's 4 50-foot cables and 2 6-foot cables to parallel the left and right subwoofers. I used to have a small, it goes on, oh boy. I used to have a small sound business to help pay the bills through college. That's a terrible idea. Go broke doing that. All this equipment is used but very well taken care of. It has been taking up space and collecting dust since I graduated, and it's time for me to pass this on to the next person to get good use out of it. All equipment is functioning as it should. See the attached video. I still can't find the video. I've reduced my asking price from $4,000 to $3,600. I believe that is a very fair price for the system. That said, I understand some might not be looking for a turnkey system, so I'm also open to splitting it up. Where the system's very large, you're going to need a box truck. So yeah, maybe a system for a DJ. I don't know how many live sound people would want to get involved in a system like this in 2024, but I would imagine a DJ would be interested in this system, certainly if they heard it. But yeah, I don't really know if DJs are buying big systems like this these days. All the DJs I know are, kind of traveling DJs, and they hire in systems for bigger events or higher production. They don't necessarily own large systems like this themselves. So yeah, let me know in your area if you think somebody would be interested in this. I would hate to have to move this system around. You definitely need 2 people to just move them in and out of the truck, let alone stack them like this. So yeah, in my opinion, the amp rack in this one really lets the system down, and the size of the speakers are going to make it a big challenge to find people that want to get involved. Because like you said, you need a box truck or something pretty large. Maybe a large 1-ton van could move a good amount of this, but with amp racks and cable trunks. So yeah, you're getting into box truck territory very quickly for a pretty old system that's carpet covered. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty limited market for $3,600 for any price, really, for a system like this. But let me know what you think, as always, in the comments. Now, I forget what the context was, but somebody commented on a recent video that I did about this console, that they owned one of these, the original digital console that Behringer put out. And I was working at a store that sold these when they came out, and I think we got one in as a floor model. I can't remember if we had any stock of them, and I don't remember that we ever sold any. So, but they were fascinating at the time. They were their version of like an O1V, and this one even has the ADAT expansion card installed, which were hard to come by. They were available, but not the easiest thing to find at the time, from what I remember. And original box. So this listing is for 2 of these, plus the ADAT card for $50 and in salvage, potentially salvage condition. These will require an expert to fix. Oh no. These boards have common issues. You can find conversation strings about it on the internet. When you turn them on, all the lights will just blink and it will never complete the startup. Oh boy. You can put back on the computer with SCSI connection, reprogram them, and then in a couple weeks, the same thing will happen again. Most people have given up. Behringer no longer supports or supplies parts. Apparently, if you are an electronics guru, you can resolder, S-O-D-D-E-R. You can resolder a bunch of joints and replace a bunch of capacitors. Okay, so do they just need to be recapped? The ADAT plug-in unit may be worth the $50 to someone who has a working version of this board, but they are getting rarer. Yeah, that's for sure. That ADAT card, I imagine, would go for more than $50 to somebody that needs it. 2 Behringer DDX 3216 32-channel digital mixers, fully automated. Okay, so that's just copy and paste. 1 ADAT card. These are amazing boards that can do things boards costing $5,000 to $8,000 can do. Well, that's a bit of a stretch. These boards are undependable at startup and mostly non-working at this point. I still have an old computer and connectors to reinitialize the software systems that you can have as well. Wow. Maybe you know how to fix them. Used in a non-smoking home studio. All right, well, that's a fair listing all around. If anybody wants to jump on that, search for those in Cincinnati, Ohio. And yeah, that could potentially be fixable. I don't know anything about the issues these are having, but I can't imagine they're completely unrepairable if he's able to reflash the firmware, it sounds like, and then they work for some amount of time after that. That sounds like something that should be able to be diagnosed. So if anybody's interested in a project, again, for the winter, but digital, $50 for 2 of these plus that ADAT card is a very fair deal. You could just sell the ADAT card on eBay, I would imagine, and have the mixers. Let's see. Yeah, so the ADAT cards, people are asking $100 for those on their own on eBay. So, yeah, totally worth it. Very fair deal, in my opinion, if you're looking for a project. Otherwise, you'd sell the card, double your money, and have a couple of door stops or some salvage parts like he suggested. So, yeah, anybody in Cincinnati, Ohio, there you go. Pretty cool listing.